Thank you guys for joining us. Mustafa, you are a co-founder of DeepMind, now a division of Google. You're the author of a forthcoming book, The Coming Wave. Reid, legendary venture capitalist. You're an early investor in OpenAI. Also an author of a book called Impromptu. The books are available for everyone. Thank you. So thank you both.
Which you wrote with AI, right?
Yes, Impromptu, first book on AI, co-written with an AI.
Yes, ChatGPT-4 will be doing a signing.
All you have to do is go to the web prompt.
Yeah. And you're the co-founders of a company called Inflection AI. Guys, it's raining chatbots these days from OpenAI, well-funded startups, all the big tech companies. So tell us, Mustafa, maybe you start. What is the play here with Inflection AI?
So I think this is unquestionably going to be the most radical transformation of our lifetimes. I mean, there are going to be AIs for all sorts of things, for businesses, for brands, for digital influencers. Our belief is that everyone is also going to have a personal AI, one that is aligned to your interests, on your team, in your corner, gets to know you, and really forms a trusted relationship with you over time. It'll be like a confidant, a consigliere, there for you when you need to make tough decisions, but also a chief of staff, scheduling, organizing, prioritizing, booking. Your AI is really going to be your digital representative, negotiating on your behalf, interacting with other sales AIs that are trying to, encourage you to buy something and helping you to, get a great deal.
And for example, it's the whole set of things. So for example, one of the things I just found out yesterday is one of our team members at Greylock actually, in fact, is using Pi for parenting advice.
Oh, cool.
Right, which is really awesome. And that's the kind of thing where you're like, great.
But Reid, why is this an opportunity for a startup? Isn't a Microsoft or a Google Bard just a little closer to the customer and in a better position to offer that personal digital assistant?
Well, part of obviously I am on the board of Microsoft and, was on the board of OpenAI. And part of the thing is, what I love about startups is that you have a unique vision where you're unfettered by the other aspects of your business and you're building it. So part of the idea that Mustafa and the entire Inflection team, kind of came up with, and, I, have a little bit of fingerprints here too, is that IQ is not the only thing that matters here. EQ matters as well. And so how do you have this personal intelligence, Pi, be helpful to you, obviously very high-end, IQ, but also EQ. And that was one of the reasons I used the parenting example, because obviously there's a question of how you do it, but it's also how you connect with people, what you do in order to amplify that. And I think that's one of the things that, the Inflection folks are doing better than everyone else.
So can we talk about the EQ thing? Because I asked Pi what we should ask you. Its questions were fine. And then I was like, are you going to tell them that we had this conversation? And it responded, haha, I'm just a computer program. I can't tell anyone anything, but I assure you our conversations are confidential. I do think it's pretty cool that we're having this meta conversation about your interview with my creators! Exclamation point. And it was actually the personality that shocked me. Can you explain how you designed that?
I mean, we've deliberately designed it to be patient, curious, kind. One of the things that first struck us a year and a half ago when we started working on this is what makes for great conversation? When do you feel that sense of flow and that sense of energy and connection with another person? And I think most of the time it's when you feel heard and understood. You've received a little bit of affirmation, but it's not completely sycophantic, right? It doesn't just agree with you at every moment. It can be a little bit challenging. It has boundaries, so you can push it on certain topics and it'll take a position, and that's really healthy. But also it's just curious. I think many people are excited by the idea, especially the users that we have, of someone asking them lots of questions about the topic that they're interested in. We don't always have someone in our lives who is as knowledgeable and as passionate about our favorite topics as we might like. And so that's where Pi comes in, because it's super knowledgeable and engaging.
So it sounds like a competitor to ChatGPT. Is it a competitor to ChatGPT? And how does that make sense if you're also an investor in OpenAI?
Well, so I think there's going to be a number of agents. I don't think there's going to be one agent to rule them all, a Ring in Mordor.
But is ChatGPT going to rule most of us?
No, I don't think so. I think that, I mean, it's partially, it's like, same reason we talk to different people for different aspects of our lives, right? So, this person we talk to about our passion about snowboarding, this person we talk to about what's going on in the country, this person we talk to, like we have a pantheon. Same thing, we'll have a pantheon of different kinds of AI. One will go, you ask ChatGPT, how do you, comfort a friend who's lost a treasured pet, and it says, here are 5 possible ways you might do that. You ask Pi, and it'll say, oh, that sounds like it's really hard for you and your friend. You know your friend well, what would count as being present there for your friend? And it still has the IQ, it has the 5 reasons, but it goes through that style of going through it. And I think these are different interaction experiences, and the question is, which one do you want this minute? Which one do you want more in your life? That kind of thing. And part of the design of Pi is, how do we help you be the best you, right? Like that doesn't mean by being sycophantic, for example. That's the question of, ask you questions about, well, what do you think about this? And how do you go through it, and help you navigate your life by being helpful in that way.
So Sam Altman was just on stage talking, as he sometimes does, about the theoretical dangers of AGI and Chat GPT-9. And I'm just curious if you guys think generally that's a discussion worth having, and where you each are on this spectrum of existential dangers from AI.
Well, let's start with the fact that one of the things that I think is dangerous about the existential discussion is that it blinds us from some of the nearer things, which is AI's amplification intelligence, as per the Impromptu book, and so it amplifies human beings. And so we see a bunch of good things with human beings, AI tutors, AI doctors, a bunch of other things. There's also bad human beings. And so what to do about bad human beings doing, with AI is also part of the portfolio mix of how you shape this technology. And it's one of the reasons why Mustafa's book, The Coming Wave, I highly recommend. And I will hand the next part of the answer over to you.
And wait, let me frame it though, Mustafa. Sam's probably left the building by now. So
you can say anything
frankly,
you want.
where do you kind of disagree with some of the alarmism notes that he has sounded?
Look, I think it's easy to speculate around what a GPT-9 might look like. I mean, 6 more orders of magnitude of compute would be eye-watering, and I'm absolutely with those concerns around existential risk. But if you play that out, that is many, many years, and it is, unclear what actually happens at that scale. What's much more clear, and what a lot of the themes I explore in the new book, is that in the near term, we're about to empower many, many people, if not ultimately everybody, with access to the ability to amplify their existing power, right? This is not just a knowledge engine, but in time, it'll allow you to take actions, right? You'll be able to make recommendations, buy things, book things, and that's going to get smaller and cheaper and therefore proliferate far and wide. That is going to cause a dramatic instability and potentially a threat to the nation state, because anyone who has an agenda or is trying to sort of push a political outcome is suddenly going to see the barrier to entry to that kind of scaled impact lowered. And so there's going to be a real question around how states kind of manage that distribution of power. And I think there'll be a tendency to lunge towards, slightly more authoritarian, more surveillance-based mechanisms to prevent that proliferation, which would both be bad for innovation and obviously dystopian from a political governance perspective.
So hang on, and Sam and I were talking backstage as well, and he's much more confident that AI will lead us to a more equal world than an unequal world. Are you saying that there's a better chance of economic dislocation and social dislocation as a result of this technology?
So both are likely to be true, actually, which is a little bit surprising. But if you look back over the last 50 years, the transistor, the last wave, which enabled the personal computer, has clearly made us in many ways more equal. Whether you're a billionaire or you earn $20,000 a year, we all get access to the same cutting-edge hardware. The smartphone and the laptop is broadly at the cutting edge, and everyone else will catch up over the next 5 to 10 years. We're on the same trajectory with respect to access to intelligence, and that is an unbelievable idea. Over the next decade, hundreds of millions of people and then billions of people will get access to the same expert doctor, the same expert educator, the same tool for scheduling, prioritizing, organizing your life. That is going to be the most meritocratic moment in the history of our species, for sure. It is a question around how individuals and groups and organizations use that power, right? Because clearly we all have conflicting agendas and priorities and goals, and that's basically where I think that we end up with significant disruption.
Okay, Reid, but that's the glass half full. I mean, what is the potential threat to the millions of coders, of customer service representatives, the job dislocation, the people who are serving jobs whose functions can be easily replaced by AI?
Your LinkedIn hat on, too.
The closest metaphor that I've come to use to describe this moment is it's a steam engine of the mind. If you look at the former steam engine, current steam engine, although obviously majorly amplified, Industrial Revolution gave us superpower of muscles, superpower of transport, superpower of construction, all these things. Now we're going to have superpowers of the mind. Now, there's a whole bunch of very positive things that come out of that. I mean, all of the things we have come of the increase in wealth that allows medicine, general education, everything else comes out of the Industrial Revolution. I think the same thing will be coming out of the steam engine of the mind. Now, but the transition is going to be difficult. The transition is going to be, okay, well, customer service jobs are going to change a whole lot. Now, engineers, I think, look, if you roughly kind of go through a company and you go, well, we 10x each function, you say you 10x salespeople. Great. Still want to hire more salespeople, want to hire more sales. So 10x marketing people. It's like, okay, maybe the marketing function will change some, so less order entry, more thinking about it, but you're still in a business competitive ecosystem. You don't want to stop marketing or not be doing it. When you get to customer service, you get more replacement. But here's part of the thing that part of the reason why I did the book Impromptu and I'm trying to orient people is like, okay, so customer service people, there's going to be a transition. Well, AI can help with that. You can build AIs that help figure out other kinds of work and jobs, that can help you find them, that can help you learn them, that can help you do them. And so that's the thing that we as a society need to be doing. So it's like less like how do we slow down AI, how do we shape it to help the broad swath of humanity in this transition? That's where I'm trying to get the dialogue and discussion to.
Mustafa, we were just talking to Sam about Google and whether or not it's still scary, and he's like, yeah, they're still formidable. You quit DeepMind and Google AI, and obviously a lot of people have left Google. Is there something wrong at Google or some sort of innovator's dilemma there that will prevent it from truly succeeding on generative AI because it undermines its own business model?
Look, fundamentally, AI stands in tension with Google's existing business model. It's very hard to eat yourself from within and adapt and respond to the coming wave. So for a while, Google was just idling. I was there. On Lambda, we had ChatGPT before ChatGPT. It was just like a remarkable feeling internally, playing with this incredible tool and not really being able to get it out into products. It took, the launch of ChatGPT to kind of threaten Google and really shake everything up. And, Google's a very formidable and, organization full of super smart people. So I'm sure they'll be just fine, but I can understand why they're stuck, because nobody wants a personal AI in your pocket that is actually funded by ads, right? You don't want a salesman in your pocket that is trying to persuade you to go and buy more or do X, Y, Z. You need fiduciary alignment, right? Your AI has to be on your team, and that means ultimately you have to pay for it. And if somebody else is paying for it, you have to ask yourself, what are they trying to persuade you of? Are they trying to influence you in some way? And I think people are alive to that now, and that's a real challenge for Google because it's very unclear how they're going to manage this transition.
So we asked Sam if Google scares him. Does OpenAI scare you? Mustafa first, then you.
So no.
No, it definitely doesn't. I mean, actually, this morning, we've announced our new large language model called Inflection AI, and we set out to build a model that was fast enough and more capable than every other model on the market for our compute class. So we're very proud that, a year on from our launch, we're now better than Llama, ChatGPT, Palm 540, Chinchilla, all of the other models of our size. And that's super important because it powers Pi, and ultimately it will be available as a conversational API. So you can obviously play with it at pi.ai now. And I think that demonstrates that with a team of 35 people, in a pretty short order, we're able to exceed the cutting edge and now build an absolute best-in-class AI, which is very exciting. And obviously, we've also managed to do that because we've been able to gather a huge amount of capital and some great investors and train. In fact, what we now have is the largest operational cluster in the world of H100s, NVIDIA's latest chip. And that's a huge advantage.
Okay.
And one of the things, because I was listening to your conversation with Sam, and it's obviously an awkward question when you ask him. It's like, well, should we trust you? Because it's like, yes, trust me. It's like, well, that's weird. Because if
He
someone
actually
says,
said, no, you shouldn't.
yes,
I was like,
but
what?
if someone says, yes, trust me, you're like, well, wait a minute. But look, the OpenAI people are really great people. I think it's governed by a 501c3. There's frequently a bunch of FUD social media stuff that kind of obscures that. I had spent a number of years on the board and in team. I still work with them and help them. They are fully paying attention to every serious question. I mean, like, for example, Sam went and spent a month. It's crazy, you're doing a startup. He spent a month doing a world tour, talking to people, say, look, I'm here, you can talk to me about your concerns. I want to make sure it's good for humanity. I don't just care about this kind of US, San Francisco tech scene. I care about what its impact on humanity is. And so I have come here to talk to you. So that kind of, like, I'm engaged in conversation, I care about this, is the kind of reason, in addition to a 501c3, emission structure, and everything else. And so, no, I'm delighted with OpenAI.
I don't see how he's getting any work done with all these public appearances. But I want to change gears quickly. We're going to throw some Twitter polls up on the screen today, and we asked Twitter users where the greatest advancements in AI would come from. We'll see the results. But I want to ask about, maybe Reid, starting with you, the US-China policy of divestment. Can we reasonably hope that doing that will maybe prolong America's advantage in AI? Is it a smart strategy?
I don't think divestment is a smart strategy. I think staying connected is better for both the US and China and the world. I think competition is very good. I think the fact that there's various ways that we in the US and the West Coast have a AI lead, I think that's a great thing for kind of the values, the ecosystem, the kind of the great world order that the US should be very proud of in the last 70 years. There's lots of things to be critical of too, of course, but as a really peaceful time, trying to make it business and interconnections is a really good thing, and I'm a very strong believer and proponent of that. But I think divestment's not the end.
Mustafa, you write in the book that China has an explicit national strategy to be the AI leader by 2030. So do you agree with Reid that withdrawal, divestment is a smart strategy?
I mean, China is already ahead of its own schedule. I mean, it's publishing significantly more papers on AI than we are collectively in the rest of the world. So, I do think that our export controls were effectively a declaration of economic war on China. They were very firm and very aggressive. And I think it sets us out on a hyper-adversarial footing. They have a huge number of levers too. We should expect them to use them against us pretty soon, unfortunately.
So we talked a lot about regulation with Sam, and obviously President Biden was just in town here this week talking about AI. He met with, the president and Sundar and Satya in DC. What is the prospect for real government oversight that protects users, protects the economy, and our political process?
So I think the good news is that the administration is taking a very, let's learn how to be smart about this. Let's assemble a set of thoughtful people from industry. Yesterday, assembling a thoughtful people from outside of industry, academia, other kinds of places where doing it, and let's learn about it. I think they have a number of good people tasked with this. And so I'm optimistic in that. But on the other hand, of course, a little bit like your interview with Sam, regulatory things is something that's very easy to get wrong. So you need to be cautious about how you do it. You want it to be having a net positive impact, not, for example, regulatory capture, not a bunch of other things. And so I think you have to be careful about how you do it.
I think it's worth adding that this time last year, almost no world leaders were talking about AI. I don't think there has ever been a technology trajectory in history that has gone from zero recognition to almost universal recognition. And that's a good thing. And I think it's in part because sort of we collectively in the industry have been trying to advocate and say, like, this is really serious, we should pay attention and invite the conversation wherever it ends up with respect to regulating existential risk or more near-term threats.
Okay, I think we have to leave it there. Mustafa, Reid, thank you guys for joining us.
Great to see you guys.
Great
Thanks
to
a lot.
see you
Great to
too.
see you.